All right, welcome back to Modern Ronin Media, and I'm Tommy. This is the channel where we talk about filmmaking for the people who love the art of filmmaking. On today's episode, we're going to do something a little bit different. After I get done introducing all of this, we're going straight to screen capture. So what we're going to be talking about today is Backlot.app. Backlot.app is a very powerful pre-visualization tool, but it actually does a lot more than that. You'll see it in the screen capture video as we go through and we recreate one of the shots I'm working on for the Phantom Nightmare. I wanted to do this quick review on Backlot.app because I thought it was a pretty cool program, and I was using the free 7-day trial, which now has turned into a subscription because I think it's that powerful. So you guys, this is not paid. I have no affiliation with them. I did reach out to them to get a couple questions answered prior to actually doing the screen recording. But check it out. If you guys like to think visually, or if you're working with people who don't think visually, this is a tool that I think is going to be very helpful. Previz is not easy to do. So what do I mean by previz? Pre-visualization software and pre-visualization is basically taking a scene, laying it out in a three-dimensional space and kind of walking through what you plan on doing for it. So let's get right into this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the opening scene. We've already created it in Backlot.app, but we'll walk through it as a brand new scene for the Phantom Nightmare. We're going to just do the very, very first few shots, and I'll explain to you why I think Backlot.app is a pretty rad piece of software. So you come into the interface once you sign up, and it is a subscription-based software which gives you 7 days free to try it out. And I recommend try it out if you do any narrative projects. I think you'll find it pretty crazy. So you have to your left, you have my projects, recent, shared scenes, shared projects, and you have a sample project, and I have a Phantom Nightmare project, and you can do a whole new category. And at the bottom, you have the link to the tutorials and how to manage your memberships. And then in the larger right side panel, you have all of the projects that you have worked on, or scenes that you have worked on inside each project. And you can sort it by different mechanisms. So you can go sort by scene name, recently updated. Very easy. Everything here on this page is single click. So we're going to go ahead and create a new scene. Where I find Backlot very, very powerful is they have dozens, probably not dozens, at least a dozen scene templates. So we can choose which project we're going to be working on, and I'll go Nightmare Phantom, even though I spelt it backwards. And we're going to call this one Interior Bedroom. And so, like I said, you have all of these template scenes. You have a 1960s home, abandoned school, airplane, alien forest, ancient city temple. And what I did was this bachelor pad 1. Now, I'll read to you what we have for the scene. It's interior bedroom night. The master shot of all bedroom scenes, slight dolly in, wide shot of bedroom at bed level. And the descriptor for the space is darkened bedroom with no real distinguishing features or furniture other than a bed pushed up against a wall, up against a shadowed wall. Asleep, fidgeting on the bed is Henry, early 30s, pale, unkept scruff on his face and dark circles under his eyes. He's wearing only dark boxers and is half covered by a black sheet and blanket. So we're going to recreate that push, and we'll do that right now. So I'm going to select the bachelor pad and hit create. So one of the great things about Backlot is all these scene templates are not just a bedroom. This is I scrolled through it before when we created the previz. I think it has a living room, a living area, a bedroom, a bathroom, and a kitchen. It's all there, and downloads it from their site, puts it in there. It's all 3D. You can even break the scene down and move props. Will come in, and so what you're seeing on the screen right now is there's a camera. To the left, you have your, what I'd call your director's view, how you would be standing without looking through the camera at the scene. To the right, you have how the camera's seeing it, and it's pretty detailed. So that's a tripod camera. It's basing all of the way it's looking at the space through an Arri 65 on a 28 millimeter lens with a focal distance of 4.3 meters, an aperture of 2.8, shutter of 1/30th, and an ISO of 6400, and a color temperature of 6500. So those are your two main viewers. To your far right, you have your environment, how much light's coming in from outside, what time of day it is, and below you have your timeline that you work off of. And then to the bottom right, you have your hierarchy. So as you add characters and you add lights to light your scene, you'll see it in a different hierarchy. You can navigate your world space from what I was calling the director's viewpoint by right mouse clicking and using on the Apple mouse, you can roll in or roll out. You can, when you right click, it's really sensitive with the Magic Mouse, which I think I really need to get rid of for this type of work. So you can also use Shift and the mouse and the arrow key to pan and to travel forward and backwards. And then without the Shift key, you can use the up and down arrows to go higher or lower in your scene. So we are going to have to use the mouse, and we are going to orbit around to find the bedroom, which I think is right this area right here behind the camera. One of the things we're going to do right off the bat is we're going to delete this camera. We don't need this camera. This camera isn't useful for what we're doing. So as we orbit around, like I said, there's a kitchen, there's a loft elevator, a pool table, and over in this area, which we created a pre-visualization for the bathroom scene, that's the bathroom. So let's come over here. Excuse my little bit of clutteriness. I'm going to use the arrow keys to move into the bedroom. So here is the bedroom space that we are working with. We can see we have this huge window over here. Now remember, we're prevising just to give the feel, in my case, of the camera move. We're not trying to recreate the exact location or the exact scene. If you need to do that, you can use the you can use a Backlot blank template and build with all these different tools all of your scenes. But for this particular use, this is fine. This is enough for my director and my producer to go, oh, okay, I get what you're trying to do. You're trying to push in with this wide lens, and okay, that's exactly what we want. So the benefit of something like this program is simply that if you're working with narrative commercial, or if you're working with narratives, commercials, some documentary work, maybe, I don't know for sure, and you have clients or directors or producers who are not necessarily visual, this is a really, really good way to say, this is what I'm looking to do on this scene. And to be honest with you, it was just earlier I was thinking about it. I like lookbooks. I love lookbooks. When Travis and Ashley reached out to me to DP this, and we'll get into this a lot more in detail in another video, but read the script, went and found some imagery of how I was thinking. With Backlot, I could actually make a previs lookbook to give them and say, hey, here's what you guys want. Here's some images, but also let me show you the type of camera moves I'm thinking as a pitch tool for future work. So back to this. Here is how easy Backlot is. So we're in this completely 3D environment. We have no lights, no cameras, anything. So the first thing we're going to do is come up to the top left. you'll see the Backlot logo, the save icon, and right next to it's a little plus mark. Click on the plus mark and you say camera. These are, from the way I understand them, they are supposed to be photometrically redisplaying everything in the same way that the actual camera would. So we're going to choose a red Epic Dragon, which may be one of the cameras that I'm going to be shooting on. And I'm just going to click. I'm going to call it master. And now we have a camera placed. Camera, unfortunately, is looking in the wrong direction. It's looking out the hallway. We'll get to that. So you'll see real quick, you have at the base of the tripod, you have 4 arrows that cross. That is to, let's zoom out a little bit here. That is to drag the camera throughout the scene for placement. So we're going to place the camera, over here near this wall. And as we come out just a little bit more, you see a circular set of arrows. That is for camera rotation. So let's rotate it around. And now we're, now we're looking towards the bed, but we're going to come over here because we're going to slide this guy over a little bit. We're going to slide him over and slide him back. Okay, so now that we got the camera positioned, we have 2 other sets of controls in this particular mode. We have this up-down arrow, which sets the height of the tripod. Right now it's set at 1.42 meters. You can see it right below it where it says height. And then you have this kind of almost rounded set of 4 arrows that adjusts the pan, the tilt of the camera. We can also come down to the far right side where we had all of the time of day settings, and we see red Epic Dragon. We see a little tripod highlighted. If we turn that off, the camera falls to the floor. Turn it back on, it goes back on sticks. You can set up a crane move, which we're not going to do that right now. And you also have the ability, if you look in the, it's not really showing it right now because we're on sticks, but if you were to go handheld, take away the tripod, you can add a little bit of camera shake to it. So these are some of the tools that you just have built in and it goes right away. You have your focal length. So we're going to say, I think we're going to probably use a 20 millimeter. And we're going to, once we get our character in, we'll adjust the focal distance. We're going to say an aperture of 4, shutter speed of 48, an ISO of 800. And for now, we'll keep the color temperature at 6500. We'll change that later. So what you can see just from what we've done so far, on the right side, it's how you or I would see it if we were just walking around the set. Or sorry, that's the left side. On the right side, we're kind of getting this really dark, almost you can't see anything feel to the position of the camera because it's actually seeing how the camera itself would see, not how you or I would. So coming back over to the left viewer, so you see the adjustment tools, the up, down, pan, tilt. If you come over to where it says tripod, you can change it to tripod, crane, or floating. We'll come back to that in a second. But you also have the ability to work more in like a 3D environment. So the orbiting and rotating off of a certain axis and moving through X, Y, and Z. We'll come pull this out a little bit more so you can see those. So if you want to work in that mode, and that's basically to move the tripod or that 0 point. So let's go ahead and start to light this thing, and then we'll get the character in there. So we're going to come back into the plus. We're going to come out of there and go to lights. Now there's a ton of lights in here. If you look to where the mouse is, you have all film lights, light accessories, and practical. So let's go to film lights because there's, like I said, there's so many lights in here. It gets a little bit over the top trying to dig through all this. I'm just going to throw a very generic, let's see. Actually, let's see for outside to light the from the outside. Let's see what happens if I throw a 20K in there. Now, obviously, we're not going to have a 20K on set, but just to get the feel. So this is one of the few issues I have is working in this space to initially place the camera. So, or any of the objects actually. It's a little bit tricky for me. So let's push this guy outside and then push it right here. And now let's turn this thing. Okay, so we're going to have to go outside and see which way this thing's facing. Oops. Okay, so this light is way, way, way out of the way. Okay, so we're going to do this. We're going to get our tilt. So you can use these drag controls. I personally like to come over to where the light rigging is on the far right side and do all of my angle adjustments this way. So you can adjust the height. Now, one of the limitations, and I've reached out to Backlot and talked to them, is the heights. So the tripod, the highest you can go is 1.4 meters. So what is that, about 5 feet? And right now, for whatever reason, the height on the light stands only go up to 2 meters. So what you can do is you can go into your 3D XYZ mode and just physically drag the light to the height that you want it. And then let's give it some more pitch down. Let's get it down to like there. And you can see it on the camera side really lighting. I like these long shadows, really lighting the interior. And then coming back to the far right side, you can actually adjust color temperature. We're going to go give it this really bluish look. And if you want, you can adjust the roll, which would be the circular rotation of the light, which does nothing. And then the yaw, which will turn the light one way or the other. You have over here, you have the light on. You have whether it's on stands or not, and whether it has barn doors or not. So right below that, you have your intensity, which will keep it at 100%. You have your how you adjust what I would call just generic barn doors. And then this one, I'm still trying to figure out exactly what it does, but I think it has something to do with how the light bounces. So let's just throw this back over there. Okay, so now we have a frame on the camera side where we can start to see stuff. So let's get back inside. Still trying to figure out these controls. So bear with me for a second, and then let's come down. Okay, so we have the light coming in, and it's maybe hard to tell in this screen recording, but you can kind of see there's some haze in the room. So let's work with our character now. Let's get Henry. Henry is going to be under characters. So we're going to go back to the plus icon, go back into library, and then click on characters. So for this particular shoot, we'll do this guy and his shorts so we can kind of be how it was written in the script. So here's Henry. Let's drop him here. So here's where Backlot becomes very powerful. I played with other 3D programs. I did some 3D stuff in the past. And wow, okay, that tells me nothing. Yes, I can do this. I can go ahead and rotate the 3D character and put him on the bed and say, There's Henry. There's your character doing what you want him to do. And then we can animate the camera doing the push in. It's kind of boring. This is where Backlot gets a lot of respect from me. Right here at the bottom of the, again, what I call the people viewer, the director viewer, we have animations. And there's a ton of them. So let's just go with, type in the find menu and go sleep. So you have all of these different types of sleep. Maybe I shouldn't have changed Henry. Here, let's move him so you can kind of see what he's doing here. So with just one click, you can create these animations. So we're going to say he's going to have some restless sleeping because that's what the script calls for. And we're going to go put him on the bed. So once we get this piece done, we'll animate the camera and I'll give you my thoughts on Backlot. As a whole, what we'll do is so they can actually see him a little bit better, we'll go ahead and give it a slight roll like that. And then just kind of drag it out. Okay. So as you can see in the camera view, not perfect, but it'll work for what we need it to. And some of this lag is actually the screen recording too. So let's go back to the camera. Now, obviously this shot is way too high, so we're going to drop it down to floor level. We're going to just raise it up to get the framing that we want. And I'm going to say we're actually going to do something more from this angle to get more of this. Now, the one thing I noticed already is the room itself is kind of dark. That's what it's calling for, but we do want to have some more texture in here. So what we'll do is we will throw, let's just throw a cheap light in there. I think that's pretty easy to control. Where's my cheap soft lights? And one thing that we're going to see a lot more of with Backlot, according to the guys, is they are definitely going to have more lights, more cameras, more characters. So all of that is going to make this program be even better. All right, so let's take you, say, so we could set this scene up in literally 2 minutes, 3 minutes, once you get to know everything. But because I'm trying to talk you guys through this, it's taking me a little bit longer. I don't need that much intensity. I just want enough intensity, and we'll throw this guy all the way into the blue. And we're going to turn the tripod off so we can raise this light way up high. This I would put on I'd probably put this light on a combo stand and just raise it way up. So we don't even need that much intensity. Let's barn door the hell out of this. Like this. Oops. There we go. We can keep barn dooring it down. And so the other thing I forgot to mention was you also have your wattage. So I can say this is a 200 watt. And we're going to put it right there like that. So this is the gist of the scene. Now let's come back over to the camera. And let's try to find a way so we can see the camera. So now let's talk about animation. So this is the very first shot when you start the film and you hit pause immediately, this would be basically the framing and basic setup of what we're doing. So what we're going to do is we're going to say this is going to be a 3-second push. So you come down to this timeline view, and there's a couple things that we need to do. Is we can play with the focus. It's a little bit hard to tell, but let's just say that's the focus right there. Okay, so we adjusted the focus. We're going to change the color temperature to 5600. See how it looks. I kind of like that a little bit more. Not a lot of detail in the room. Then we just come in and do our transform. So we're going to say position here. So we click on the little keyframe icon. Sorry guys, I'm not used to doing this with the screen recording software on. So we just push into, say, right about here. And then we come back here and we hit play. So in my opinion, that's a little bit too quick. So we can come here and come back into transform. So that we can slow it down by saying, let's make it 6 seconds and drag this keyframe. This is so slow with the screen recording software on. And you can see we have that slow push that we're looking for. But something's not feeling right. And it's what it is, it's the atmosphere. So we're going to say, we're going to change the time to we're going to come in here and say it's 3 a.m. We're going to go ahead and hit OK. We will say sunlight intensity to 0. But we're going to have fog intensity right about there. And we're going to turn down the ambient light. So now when we play it through, we get some more of those light shafts. And this right here is enough to go, oh yeah, we're fully on the same page. So the last thing that you want to do, you got your scene set up, you can hit export. And so just double check everything, runtime, 6 seconds, Red Epic Dragon, lens 20, rigs floating. Most of this stuff doesn't matter. So let's do one more thing for you guys to see. So we're going to add another camera. So this is where, again, Backlot gets really, really good. We're going to come in here, add this camera on sticks. We're going to call it test because I'm really creative like that. And we're going to turn the whole thing around. Well, just for giggles, we'll give it a little bit of a touch and we'll pitch it down. So now we have this camera view of Henry sleeping on the bed. Okay, nothing amazing. But what you can do is in this scene, I think I have 4 or 5 shots called for. So we can work an entire animation to go through a whole series of events. And what we're going to do, or what I want to show you, is if we go back to the master camera, you can see inside the camera is seeing the tripod and the camera lens and the matte box. And if we turn this master camera, if we turn the other camera to the light, it'll see the lights. So one of the things that's really nice about this is you can export both cameras, but if you want for some weird reason to show the other camera and lights in your scene, in your rendered scene, you can click this on. But we're just going to render out this one, and it'll hide it. So it's not going to affect any of the lighting or any of the way the shadows fall. So we're going to go ahead and export this. And it exports rather quickly. It'll probably take a minute or two. So let's talk about Backlot. My thoughts are this is a great tool, not just for previs of, you know, established scenes and shots, but this is also a great pre-visualization tool for concepts. Talking to a friend of mine about doing a shoot and did a lookbook for him. I'll probably go back and take some of that lookbook and build it out in here. Will I keep Backlot? I think it's a really good subscription, $30 a month. The thing that you have to weigh when you're weighing these subscription-based platforms is how often are you going to use them. I absolutely hate giving Adobe a monthly fee, but I use Photoshop and Illustrator at a minimum twice a week, every week. So for me to keep Backlot at $30 a month, I have to figure out what's going to be, what uses I would have. Right now, using this solely for previs, I don't know if I can justify it, to be honest. And the reason being is Travis brought me on for this shoot back in November, I think. I've had this for a week, and I completed all the tasks I needed to previs for him and for Ashley, the director, within 3 days. The next time I'm going to use this for a project, I don't know. I may do 2 or 3 narrative shoots where I need to previs stuff a year. So is this something that's going to be really important for me to have 365 day a year access? I don't know. When I need it, this thing's going to be rad. This is going to be a really, really cool program. So we'll see. I think that if you are doing previs, if you're doing video game work, anything like that, this is definitely a must-have when if you're doing it regularly. Even if you're just doing it once a month, it's probably worth the $30 a month easily. My concern for me personally is I just don't know how often I'm going to actually be using this. So quality, ease of use. This would take me, if I was to open up Blender and get refamiliarized with Blender, this would probably take me a month to build out this set and create this scene. That's something for me that makes this worth every penny. And let's take a look at the final shot. So here it is. Go ahead and make this thing full frame, and boom. That's how easy it was. Now, we did have some hiccups in general just because of the screen recording software, but that is Backlot. I give it 10 thumbs up. No, really, it's a really good program, and I can't wait for you guys to try it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. And you know what? We got some good feedback from Ravarsini regarding the scarf dust video that they decided to go ahead and give me the ability to offer you guys a 20% discount code. So if you click the link below, go check out their site and you get 20% off. So the discount code is Thomas Chase, all one word, Thomas Chase. So again, thank you so much for watching. And as always, get out there and create amazing things. Don't let the most expensive tools on the market scare you away from following your dreams. Use the tools that best suit you and have a great one.